Well, good morning, teachers. Here we go once again, week 18. All right, today's study, we're looking at some case studies on some governments and communities and cities that have really tried to make a difference. Okay, so we'll be examining how certain locations in the world are working extra hard to combat greenhouse gases and how they designed a sustainable city. So again, our UN goals, obviously clean water, clean air, all right, making sustainable communities and cities is our primary focus for today and being responsible with the things that we consume. So I got here uh, two videos. It's actually one video, just two different parts. They should flow one to another if you just simply click on them, right? About the top 10 greenest cities around the world. It is pretty amazing what other countries around the world are doing that we in America here are not doing. Um, so this year we'll give you a little insight about the top 10 greenest cities and the advancements and things that they've done in their cities that are not even really thinkable yet here in America. Copenhagen is the number one top greenest city in the world. We'll talk about in a minute why it is, but it's in the video. Here are some key points about what they do, about makes them so eco-friendly. They even have, we'll see in the next video here, they have a ski mountain in the center of their town. In the very center of their city, they have a ski mountain, but it's not really a ski mountain. It's actually a power plant. See, they take all the towns and all the cities' trash, they burn the trash, and they produce electricity out of it. And in doing so, it creates heat for the whole town because they have a central heating steam ability, and they also have electricity being produced through here. So this, by taking all the people's trash in, they're not putting any trash into landfills. They're burning it all, and then they have scrubbers on the other end that clean the exhaust, so they capture all the bad pollutants and only emit steam and clean air back into the environment. It is really amazing, state of the art, top of the line technology. And to make a power plant not the ugliest part of the city, they turned it into a beautiful architectural design and even made it so that you can go hiking on it and skiing down it. So here's a video of what they've done in Copenhagen. The whole government there and the people there are striving hard to be sustainable and reuse and just maintain a way of life that's very, easy on the environment, uh, clean air and clean water. It's good for all people. They're setting a pretty good high standard for the rest of the world to follow. Now, the most sustainable micro city in the world. So this takes Copenhagen to the next level. In Dubai, obviously a super wealthy region right now. Some high-end investors have developed a little micro city, so a little gated community of its own that is 100% sustainable, meaning they make their own electricity, they make all their own, well, they reuse all their own water, they recycle all their own water. So their gray water gets turned into water for plants. It even gets turned into pool water for people to swim in, and it goes around and around in a giant cycle. Pretty amazing. The whole area is green technologies only. So yeah, it's pretty interesting what this place has done, and they've also made it very affordable because we looked at earlier how there's definitely a little level of injustice and inequity around going green. Like we studied this when we did the plastics, right? It's not easy to convert from single-use plastics to more reusable plastics because of the higher premium and cost, especially like converting to glass and stuff like that. So we looked at that with the students earlier in the year that it costs more to do more eco-friendly technologies, more eco-friendly products. But this place here, the investors made it so the average person, even on a lower income scale, can afford to live in this city and they can offset their costs and still maintain making a profit. Really interesting what they've done there. So here's a question. Who's in charge? Really, who's responsible for sustainable development and green investments in cities? Are we the people responsible to push those initiatives? Is our local representative officials supposed to do this stuff? Who's really in charge? Are local businesses and organizations responsible. So have a discussion with the kids. Whose responsibility is it to really push green initiatives? Just not necessarily green, the title being green, but just being sustainable, being clean, being healthy. Whose responsibility is that? Now, I want you to think, brainstorm for a minute. What should be in a sustainable city? So, after watching those videos, what are some of the key points that need to be in a city if it wants to call itself sustainable? So, you want to think about power, you want to think about transportation, you want to think about water, and air, and jobs, and green spaces. A lot of things go into it. A lot of planning goes into it. So have those discussions with the kids. Have them brainstorm a list of things that they saw in the videos that make certain areas a sustainable location. Now I put together a little list for you. All right. So what should be in a sustainable city? All right. We just talked about them a few minutes ago. But uh, here's a list if they couldn't come up with any of them, and you can continue that discussion on further. And in our picture here, you can see that we have green power, we have recycling, trash, and what you do with your trash really makes a big difference in whether or not you're sustainable. Like for San Francisco, they do trash pickup for garbage only once every 2 weeks. If you're found putting something into your trash that could be compostable or is recyclable, you get fined. So recycling gets picked up twice a week, compost gets picked up once a week, and their trash gets picked up once every 2 weeks. So right there, that makes a big difference in the way that people consume because they only have once every 2 weeks the ability to get rid of trash. Here's a neat little video about building your own city. If you had to design your own city, how would you do it? Where would you start? What are some of the fundamentals? And actually, that's part of the challenge this week. We'll talk about that in a minute. The kids are going to design their own sustainable city on paper and share it with us. Now, in 2019, ESUMS, led by Ms. Johnson, I believe Mr. Naples, went to Freiburg, Germany. Um, Here's a video on Freiburg and about the city officials and mostly the official himself, the governor of the area, and how he's taken it upon himself to work with the community to make a healthier environment for everybody. Here are pictures. These next few slides are pictures that Ms. Johnson took while she was on her trip. All right. And it's interesting, again, a lot of the initiatives that they put in place there in Germany to make it extra healthy and clean and sustainable, such as keeping track of their bikes. A lot of people there are bikers. It's encouraged that they bike, and they have 4 seasons like we do here. They actually even have parking garages for their bikes. Trams are some transport ways that they use, just like we have here, but theirs are more integrated right on the surface level of the town. We have some waterways for beautiful design, and City Hall is also very green. Plants are definitely important if you want to encourage clean air and clean living space. And we come to this week's challenge. So the students have to pretend that they're an architect and they've been commissioned to design the newest and greenest city. So they need to draw a picture of their dream city and include the following concepts. Okay, energy production. All right, what kind of power are they going to use? They use wind power, solar power, nuclear power, coal power. What are they going to do with public transportation? How are people going to get around? How are they going to ensure that everybody has equal access to transportation, but at the same time making so that it's green, sustainable, and producing clean air? What are they going to do with the trash? How are they going to collect trash? What are they going to do with it? How are they going to manage it? Uh, the design in areas like New York City's got the big, green in the middle of it, their park, right? Central Park. How are they going to design green areas into their cities? Oh, finally, sorry, uh, their housing and designs and layouts and their roadways make a big difference how you design a city to make it efficient for all people to get around. So we want them to just think. And maybe some of the students are interested in this, in designing cities, designing homes. So we want students to have the opportunity to brainstorm. Okay, seventh grade is going to have a little bit extra addition to it. It's going to be part of their engineering work for the week for Mr. Lee. Is they're actually going to have to build their city, either a model of it in CAD and 3D programs, or on just using some diorama type materials. But eighth grade, at least minimum, we want them to sketch it up on paper, sketch up their ideas, label it out, talk about what kind of things would go into their city. And again, obviously, we broke it down in more detail with the challenge that we'll post on Google Classroom for them. But this being one of the last big challenges, because there's only one more week after this for lessons, we really want them to start thinking about how can I incorporate all the things that we've looked at this year? How can I tie them all together in designing my own unique city? And again, next week is the last week for lessons. And we're going to end our time with a pledge. So the kids are going to have an opportunity to make a pledge about what they want to do in their life to make a change, even if it's just a small little thing. So we'll talk about more of that next week. I'm pretty excited about it. Thank you, teachers, again. We really appreciate your support. Have a great and wonderful day.